My guest for the morning is Emmanuel Chramanting Ejakon. He's a member of parliament for Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency, and we are about to touch on a certain number of issues. We'll start with the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, expected today to appear before parliament, and the committee that officials of that company are expected to appear before will be the Committee on Mines and Energy, and it is to answer for the payment of gratia to some four former managers of the company. And we know that the set payment or setting aside of monies or approval for payment to former Chief Executive Chachuchi Kata, as well as Nana Boachia Safuaje and two others, including Esther Koba, a former public affairs manager of the corporation, has raised a lot more eyebrows, particularly from the minority side and other sections of civil society, about the appropriateness of those payments. And they are expected to appear before the House, we're told. That's the GMPC. What do you make of the whole subject until now, subsequently for which we have the committee now summoning them to appear?
Well, thank you for having me, Roland. And let me use this opportunity to say good morning to our viewers, cherished viewers. It's been a little while. I'm happy to be back here. I think that this business of payment or the approval of a payment as ex gratia or severance or whatever you want to term it has been in the news for a little while. As far as I'm concerned, this matter came up probably 3 months ago. There was something that came up on it about 3 months ago, and then it just went off quietly. I figure that it has come up again because it needs to come back. First and foremost, let me state that I personally have nothing wrong. I have nothing against people receiving that which is due them. I state with emphasis that I have nothing against a worker receiving his due. If it is due you, you must receive it. However, if it is not due you, if it becomes a sleight of hand, if it becomes a golden handshake, that is not due you.
Almost like some compensation sort of.
Yeah, that is not due you. Then I have a challenge.
Let's look at the scenario.
In this particular case, I sometimes even get confused as to why they are getting this money. I read this morning that Ms. Esther Koba was talking about she was entitled to some payments from Provident Fund and all of this. If you're entitled, if you paid into the Provident Fund, and the Provident Fund after you and you have to get back your Provident Fund, I don't have a problem with it. You understand? That is why I premise my statement. If it is due you, I don't have a challenge. But beyond that, nobody is saying anything about it. All we heard was that they must have had some severance, and it is so bizarre, really. Indeed, what we are also hearing is that the legal opinion, the legal department gave an opinion that this was an inappropriate payment.
The legal department of the GMPC
wrote a legal opinion.
And what you're saying is not in the eyes of the public now. It's not before.
Well, I think it's in the public domain.
Okay.
I really and truly think it's in the public domain.
But there's a confidential information.
I stand to be corrected. But what we hear is that the legal directorate gave an opinion, wrote an opinion that there was no legal basis to make this payment. Okay. So I'm happy that Parliament has called a committee of Parliament sitting, has the powers of a high court, and if you come before it and you tell lies, it is perjury, really and truly. I hope that the matter will be clarified this morning, because I find it extremely bizarre. It is so shrouded in secrecy. It is so shrouded in I really and truly don't even know the word, but secrecy might be enough. The challenge I have is that nobody, as I sit now, and I think that goes for a lot of Ghanaians, all of this, that's, what is it for? As far as my memory goes, Mr. Chikata left GMPC under very mysterious circumstances. I think that he was one of those that was, quote unquote, sacked by a radio announcement and asked to leave GMPC to go back to, and was appointed technical advisor at the Ministry of Energy then. Okay. I am just wondering. So are they saying that when he transitioned from GMPC then to be a technical advisor, I don't know whether he ever went to the ministry. I don't know. I think that there will be records to indicate whether he really and truly did. I'm saying so that when he left there, were no payments made to him. Was what was due him not given to him. Indeed, this was at the time when his party was in government. Okay, so did they have to wait? Did they have to wait for the 8 years and for another 7 years, almost 15 years after the event?
Do you find it quite baffling that nothing of this sort had come up, or no questions had been raised all these years until now?
This is exactly the point I am coming to. Assuming without admitting that nothing happened when he was leaving in 2000, when there was a transition from one government to another. Why haven't they raised any issues? All of us have suffered that kind of a thing. I mean, I have a similar situation, but I have raised the issues in the current times. Okay, I'm not waiting until there is a change of government, then I'll come back with vengeance looking. I have raised the issues. I am saying that, so for the 8 years, and indeed the 7 years, did Mr. Chachuchi Kata, did Mr. Ben Jagadu, who today is the Deputy Minister for Energy or Petroleum, did Miss Esther Koba, and I think there's a fourth one, Nana Boachi Asafoje. Indeed, when there was change of government, Nana Boachi Asafoje, for 4 or 5 years, was a CEO of GMPC. So you begin to ask, so in the period that he was CEO, if something was due him, why wasn't it paid? Indeed, in the period that he was, for the 8 years that he was during the Kufuor regime, I don't believe that he was sacked. He was probably on leave. He was paid his entitlement. He was paid what was due him. So when he was there, nothing happened. And then when he was asked to leave GMPC, then all of a sudden it comes up that he must be giving a severance of 1 million cedis. I think this is strange. I find this like a class 1 story. Absolutely. I find this like an Anansi story.
Now, to what point do we have to say, well, somebody has worked in a certain institution and so deserves this and that? How do we also juxtapose that with what exists in the private sector? If you have a limited liability company, or let's say a company in the private sector, and well, these are the entitlements of whoever the management members are, and they have to go off work as a result of either termination of contract or maybe perhaps their time is due from office, etc. How do we juxtapose that with what the scenario was for GMPC at the time within the framework of the regulations we have?
You know, I promise.
Because at the time, most of the appointments were done by then Jerry Rawlings, who is even though
but it is okay to the extent that he had power to do it. Okay, willy-nilly he was head of state, head of government. So he was clothed. It may not have been a constitutional power. Of course, after 1992, he was clothed with constitutional power to do the things he did. Prior to that, maybe it was by fiat. But be that as it may, I don't want to fault his appointment. I mean, it was his right to do this. I have also stated clearly that I do not have a difficulty if it is according to the book. Why I have toned down considerably is I read, and I think that all of these are matters that will come up at the committee this morning. If any of them is due, like Provident Fund payment, in the conditions of service, and I say in the conditions of service, very clearly stated that this is what is due an exiting officer. I don't have a problem. It is only strange that they will wait 15 years after the event to do this. Okay. But otherwise, what happened all this while? I would want to find out. For instance, I think a question that must come up at the committee this morning is that so in the interim, in the period from 2001, that a lot of them had to leave. Like I want to believe Mrs. Takoba is positing that she was asked in a meeting with the Minister of Energy that
her portfolio is no more.
Yeah, this was in May 2001. I want to find out between that day she was asked to leave and the day the board decided, did she make any claims? Did she write to the board to say that I have Provident Fund, I have this, I have
what
that.
If, what if she did?
Oh, okay, then that is fine.
Perhaps they may have been doing this and it's not public knowledge.
I am saying that is why I am insisting that to the extent that it was due her, it was due any of them, and that the appropriate processes and channels were used, I do not have a problem.
Now,
there has been, you see, in this country, there have been instances where people had left work, they were asked to proceed on leave, they were not appropriately remunerated, and then a change of government. I don't know whether you remember the case of a gentleman, I think it's called Hodari Okai.
Yes, it's what Ghana Immigration said.
Yes, at the end of the day, he got everything paid back. I want to believe that
after a court ruling.
Yeah, I want to believe that it was due him. I know of
but you are saying that he went through the various legal.
Yeah, I know of cases in my former place of work where the court has determined that two officers who were interdicted for no reason whatsoever, absolutely no reason, should actually be paid back and reinstated. Okay, I do not have a challenge with these things, but there seems to be something amiss here.
Madam Esther Koba, in her statement, was very categorical and said that, well, whatever concerns that Katie Hammond, who is a former Deputy Energy Minister, was having, perhaps are shredded or perhaps are very much shrouded in a lot of non-clarity. As a result of that, it doesn't give the public the truth of whatever state in which...
Whose position is shrouded in non-clarity? Whose position?
Yeah, because of the position that Katie Hammond, who is a member of parliament for Asokwa, has taken, it doesn't give the public perhaps the best understanding of the issues.
Okay.
I mean, if I have to paraphrase.
Very well. Very well. You see, I would have thought that the onus does not lie on the public in this instance. The onus lies on GMPC.
Because facts are
they should have come out to tell us why 15 years after the event they have decided that Mr. Chachushikata is due 1 million cedis. Mr. Dagadu, I want to believe, is due 1 million cedis. Madame Esther Koba is due 600,000, and the estate of the late I think it's called Mr. Cato Brown is due another sum of money. I want to find out. In that period, there were a lot of people that worked for GMPC. Was it the norm? In the period 2002 to probably beginning of 2009, the late Moses Wate was Chief Executive Officer of the GMPC. When he was leaving, was the same kind of arrangement made for him? These are questions that all of us can ask. It is not for us to be even asking the questions. It is for GMPC, when these issues came up, to have clarified that according to this section of our conditions of service, we are making these payments. So who is throwing dust into the air? Who is the one that has sown to the wind and reaping the whirlwind? Why do you want to blame K.T. Hammond?
Well, K.T. Hammond may be expressing themselves, but as far as the civil liberties of the individuals are concerned, they're also entitled to have.
Yeah, but then the employer who is paying whoever the 600 should have clarified the matter ab initio. If this matter came into the public domain very clearly. But Roland, is it not strange that 15 years after the events, then all of a sudden you are making these payments? Is it not strange?
Is it a record?
Is it not strange?
Am I supposed to answer?
Well, it's a rhetorical question.
Okay,
I don't expect you to answer.
All right, so let's come to this very issue. It's also got to do with our perception, because Ghana has been ranked second worst performing country, and we know that the Transparency International, which has its local wing, the GI, Ghana Integrity Initiative, they put together a corruption perception index, or a survey, and they index the countries in a certain order. The report cited 76% of Ghanaians saying corruption has increased over the last 12 months. South Africa, so far in Africa, has topped the list as most corrupt country with 86%, with Nigeria placing third, and we are sandwiching Nigeria and South Africa, top and bottom. And on the other hand, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Cote d'Ivoire were the best performing countries in the fight against corruption. The majority of Africans in the surveyed countries said corruption has increased over the last 12 months. In 18 out of the 28 countries surveyed, a large majority of people said their government was doing badly at fighting corruption. And for the first time, people reported business executives as also very much highly corrupt. And on it goes. Well, it remains to be a perception, is that it? But do we take these as not only on face value and work on them?
Well, Roland, this one, it is not a rhetorical question. Is this the first time
a corruption perception index
has been published? No. Is this the first time it is termed as a perception index? No. Is this the first time it has been worked on by the local collaborator of Transparency International? No. You see, today I have heard people run commentary that, after all, it is not even Transparency International, but it is just some local people who have gotten together to do this. I think that for as long as I remember, anytime this has been issued, some quote-unquote people did not come from Mars to come and do this. It was a local arm, a local collaborator of Transparency International that has done it, number one. Number two, it has always been a perception index. But they will tell you that sometimes the perception is more real than the reality.
That means it's not far from reality.
Absolutely. It is a truism, not absolute though. And they will tell you that there's no smoke without fire.
As a proverb.
Yeah. So in the same way, they will tell you that sometimes the perception is as good as the reality. So this is worrying. This is worrying. I mean, what worries me most is that, look, for as long as I remember, and I say this, and I don't mean to be insulting to any country or anybody. For as long as I remember, if anybody spoke of corruption in Africa in general, and West Africa particularly, as far as I remember, the leading country has always been some neighbors on our right, on the east coast, on the east side of this country. But you see, today
on the east coast of this
on the east side of this country, some neighbors of ours, not our immediate neighbors. Today, in the whole of Africa, we are perceived as the second most corrupt in the last 12 months. I think it's a huge shame. I think the government that sits must bow their head in shame. That today it is perceived that Ghana is more corrupt than Nigeria. Why did we get it? How did we get it so wrong? How did we get it so wrong?
What outlying features, signs can we attribute to perhaps the
deepening perception?
Yeah, the deepening perception. So
you see, I think that the critical issue in all of this is always the stance that is taken by government.
Of being defensive?
Either being defensive or showing a certain willingness to confront that canker.
So you're saying non-committal?
Absolutely. I mean, how has Nigeria reversed their fortunes in the last 6 or 7 months? It is evident that the new head of state, General Buhari, has been uncompromising. He has taken an uncompromising stance when it comes to corruption.
So your point is?
So my point is, everybody sees it. On the other hand, is it the same thing that is happening here? Government communicators will be the first to tell you that, oh yes, we are doing something about it.
What has leadership got to do with this?
But I hear that, I haven't studied too much over. I haven't gone to too much school.
You haven't gone to GMPC?
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't gone to GMPC. But I hear that the rector, a former rector of GMPC, has stated, I don't know whether it was something original with him or he was quoting somebody else. I hear that a former rector of GMPC, Professor Adai, speaks to the fact that leadership is cause, everything else is effect. Leadership is cause, everything else is effect. What is Buhari doing? The man is straight like an arrow and says, I will not accept this. I will not allow this to happen. You know, is it the same thing that is happening here? What happened with the stories that your own Manasseh Awini Azuri did? Today, I am one of them, has the temerity to take him to court.
It
has been determined that these guys should pay back the money. It has been determined that Wyoming should pay back the money. It has been determined that RLG should pay back the money. It has been determined that Zoom Lion should pay back the money. And it is all like a big joke we are playing in this country.
Does all these fester the perception?
Oh, absolutely. Otherwise, what is it? Otherwise, what is it?
But how do we just suppose or put in parallel context perception and what exists in reality, based on the fact that we know that over the period we've had the judgment that submitting its report to the presidency, for which even the presidency has issued the white. Yoko has been uncovering a lot of things, and so the steps and the commitment from government based on perception should be seen by the people.
You see, this is when let us take this Wyoming saga when it came up. Government waited for probably two full years before it was jolted into taking this matter to courts. And indeed, I think it followed after a citizen vigilante started making all the noises and went to court himself. Okay. The reality is, what has happened? It is not, you know, I keep saying that my own view about this government is that they like the form more than the substance. They place form over substance. So what has happened? There's a classical case that comes before my committee in Parliament every time. In the middle of 2012, government actually advanced payments. And this breaks all procurement laws. Government actually advanced payments, paid in advance. RLG to supply 100,000 laptops. They had paid a 4 million CD advance already. And indeed, they went on to pay more. When they were paying, they didn't even factor in that they had paid an advance. As at now, I stand to be correct, but as of now, out of the 100,000, not more than 28,000 of those computers, laptop computers that are not internet enabled. Not more than 28,000 of those computers has been supplied. What happened to the rest? And what happened to the payment? It was in an election year, very close to the election. I said against the rules of our Procurement Act, the money was paid in advance. So, perception, reality, I don't know how to draw the line. It may only be a very thin line. But the reality is that government, and it is not just one instance.
There
were many instances of advance payments being made to train 20,000 people. They end up training 2,000 people.
But at the end of the day, the focus only is not, or should not only be on government, is it? We have various institutions of states.
I completely agree.
And then also we're even being told that even in the private sector, where you have businesses, top businesses, they also engage in actions that create a certain perception in the minds of the people.
You see, Roland.
So you can't always be blaming government.
So today they are mentioning private sector. Whom does the private sector engage? Do they go to the church to do their acts of corruption? It is the one who has patronage. It is the one who has the public purse. It is the one who gives out the contracts that would be corrupted or allow itself to be corrupted by the public sector. But I sit here, me and you, what can we do for anybody? You do not have patronage. You cannot sign any contract for anybody.
You are even an MP, so you are.
Oh no, but I am only a legislator. I am a poor, humble legislator.
Yeah.
A very humble legislator. What can I do? It is not within my power to give out a contract. I have had occasion when I have served in the executive branch of government. And those were the times when you go to the office, 20 people or 30 people will be sitting and waiting for you, because it was within your power to do good, patronage. Okay.
How about you MPs, perhaps helping your constituents beyond measure?
Well,
for which you also tend to create a certain perception in the minds of the public.
That is another thing. But I was even going to say, look, recently we have had a shocker of our lives with the judicial corruption issue. But really, Roland, I am not intending to belittle the extremely good work that has been done by Tiger Eye or anybody. I think that they have done what they say there's something we could not do. I've forgotten. There's a cliche. I've forgotten. Napoleon could not do.
Yeah, true.
But really and truly, when I hear some of the things that happened in that instance, they fight and run after people and go and stand under bridges just to wait for 800 CDs.
But at the end of the day, all those things fester, perhaps deepen people's perception of corruption.
I am not saying that.
And these are not even direct dealings with government.
I am not saying it is right. I am by no means approbate. No. I am only saying that, you see, it is measly. Is that the English word? How about the contracts? Those that is within their power to give out a contract to build an overpass worth $171 million.
For which you criticize the contract sum is overblown?
What about those who give out a contract to build a hospital for Accra region that I am fully supportive of, but
I have a difficulty
Crown
with
agents
have raised questions.
Estimated that it was overpriced by a whooping sum of, it's either 41 million or 61 million. I think that as a nation, these are the places we must be looking at. Look, sometimes they talk about police. I feel so sorry for them. What do they stand by the road and do? And I don't intend to denigrate them by any stretch of imagination. They collect 2 CDs, they collect 5 CDs.
But still money. The point
I agree.
It is the attitude to that.
I agree. But you see, fundamental to this is the fact that there is something wrong with this country. It is so wrong that a policeman is forced to collect 2 CDs.
Is that the case?
I think so. I think that there is something fundamentally wrong with the way we are governing this country. Look, it is not only in this country that there are policemen. And it is not only in this country that the police people, after all, when they say a policeman takes little bribes, it is all about, I have a certain position that it's not about patronage. It is well within my power to do something. So they are also using that their power small. So what this means is that, well over, this happens. But in places where governance, where the government has opened its eyes and it is doing the needful, they are the same institutions there. The police, the customs, the immigration, the whatever. But they don't do this. They don't, because the economy is structured in such a way that when the policeman receives his salary, he knows that it is reasonable, can pay the bills.
So you're holding brief for the police. You claim they are not being paid well. That is why
I am saying that
why they collect
it is not just the police. Don't we hear the stories every day? I mean, sometimes even you, media people, they talk about something they call soli.
Soli. They say we collect soli.
They say you collect soli. When you go to the hospital, they will tell you that the nurses and everybody collects money. It has become so generalized. But for me, it is only pointing to a fact that there is something wrong with the way of, there's something wrong by way of economic governance. Something is not working well. You see, the policeman in the UK has a similar propensity to the policeman here, except that number one, he thinks that he's okay. He doesn't have all that there is that he needs. Nobody in this life has everything they need, but within the context. But and secondly, what is it for? There's always a possibility that you'll be found out.
We may have a change of leadership, but it does not mean we'll have a change in attitude.
Well,
and so it's not as if that if you have a change in leadership, it solves
in Nigeria now. In Nigeria now, there has been a change of leadership.
Yes.
There's been a change. Those guys have had a very poor attitude for as long as anybody can.
As far
remember.
as if we have to put a slant on corruption is concerned.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. But I want to believe that all of a sudden everybody is waking up to the new reality. I say, and I want to quote, they say it is Professor Dai that said it, that leadership is coarse. I don't believe that what is happening in Nigeria will end in a day. If they are able to sustain this for a decade, there will be a huge shift.
So it has to be started from somewhere.
Yes. I mean, look, I am excited about places like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Cote d'Ivoire. What has happened there? It has been, it is not that they are different from us. Indeed, I want to believe that if we looked on the Human Development Index, Burkina Faso and Mali are way below us. Maybe Ivory Coast may be at par or slightly ahead of us. So if you talk about human need, okay, if you talk about human need, if you talk about poverty, it bites more in Burkina Faso and Mali than us. But all of a sudden, they are beginning to go up. The perception that corruption is beginning to recede is improving. It is only because I want to believe that they have done things. At least I remember, if for nothing at all, I remember that in a place like Burkina Faso, for virtually everything that is done, it is advertised. In this country, we have a public procurement law. Let us look at the records. In the last 7 or 8 years, virtually everything of importance has come by way of the exception rather than the rule.
Which is what?
Sole sourcing.
What's wrong with that? It's within the...
I said it is the exception. Anybody who clearly understands the procurement law knows that
it's only used in exceptional
It's only used. But today, when the exception becomes the rule,
then you're worried.
Then you have created a substrate for corruption just to you understand me? So yes, it is that is my
let me jump on to the last issue. We'll discuss it for some few. I know you don't like talking about your internal wranglings as a party, but the second vice chairman of the MPP, Sami Krab, has rejected an invitation to appear before the party's disciplinary committee after 2 party members apparently petitioned for his expulsion from the party. And Sami Krab questioned the locals of the committee to hear him after he refused to recognize Chairman Freddie Bliss' appointment as the national chairman. The elected chairman had been suspended, we all know, indefinitely. Now, the members said Sami Krab failed, neglected and abandoned his duties as a core member of the party and has fallen short of the standard required of national officers. But he has raised certain concerns too.
Okay. Well, I think that you stated clearly that as a matter of principle, I do not discuss my party matters on media platforms.
On national TV?
Yeah,
or national media?
I don't as a matter of principle.
But what do you make of this?
Well,
you're supposed to be fighting corruption, looking at gratia payment and things. But now you also have to look at your internal wranglings before.
Oh, but thankfully, this is not corruption. This is not.
Yes, I know. Yeah. But instead of focusing on all that, because you are the leading opposition.
Well,
party,
I think that
you are forced to look at some of these.
I think that even when we spoke about the ex gratia payments, I said that I do not have anything against anything that is done within the context of the rule of the book. I don't. Similarly, I do not have anything against a party member who believes that he is working within the context of the rule of the book.
But Sami Krab, who is your second vice chairman, says that due process is not being followed.
Very well, very well. Due process does not reside in the bosom of Sami Krab. Okay. Due process certainly also does not reside in the bosom of the 2 people that took him, that made a complaint to the disciplinary committee.
So where does it lie then?
Due process lies in the bosom of the judge. Okay. Due process lies in the bosom of the judge. If I think that I would have wished that it didn't come to this. I really and truly would have wished that it didn't come to this. But if it comes to this, I think that there would always be a certain finality. I have perused, I have not studied, I have perused what Sammy Crab has said. And he has quoted in extenso portions of the NPP constitution. I want to believe that he probably has even quoted sections of the national constitution. Okay, so he believes from where he is coming from that he is right in what he is doing. It is a belief that you cannot take away from him. I want to believe that Boylai and Mami today also believe that they are on terra firma.
Do you know the two individuals?
Oh, I know them pretty
okay.
well. I believe that they think that they are on terra firma.
So we just have to make sure due process is followed.
I think that we should just make sure that due process is followed.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. Emmanuel Chamantin Ejako is a member of parliament for Ayawaso West Wagon constituency. Are you going to parliament this morning?
I am going to parliament this morning.
How does it happen if you're a member of a certain committee? For example, the Mines and Energy Committee is supposed to meet the GMPC officials and ask them certain questions. Can you, even if you're not a member, go and sit in?
Oh, yes. You can sit in as a friend.
If you're interested, a friend of the committee. Okay,
but I thought that you were going to raise issues. Yesterday there were issues about some affordable, and the word is affordable housing they are doing at Saglemi.
Yes.
I thought it was going. I think it is topical.
It is topical.
I think so.
Yes, we have other programming on the channel too that will take care of that as well.
Very well.
It's just that the issues are too many for
Very
us.
well. Very well.
Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome.
Okay, we're taking a break. When we come back, we'll have entertainment. As always, entertainment is brought to you by Airtel. Please do stay on. We'll be right back. You're still watching the AM show.